Clara lived alone in a small, quaint cottage at the edge of town, nestled near a forest that locals avoided after sunset. The villagers often spoke in hushed tones of a spirit that roamed the woods at night, looking for something, or someone, it had lost. Clara never paid much attention to the tales. She was new in town and didn't believe in such things. But on one stormy night, as the wind howled and the trees swayed violently, she heard a soft knock at her door. Her heart skipped a beat. It was nearly midnight. She hesitated, wondering who could possibly be outside in this weather. Another knock, this time a bit louder, more insistent. She grabbed a shawl and made her way to the door, opening it just a crack. Standing there was a man, soaked to the bone, with raven-black hair and eyes that seemed almost too dark to be real. "I'm sorry to disturb you," he said, his voice deep and strangely melodic, "but I've lost my way in the storm. May I come in just for a moment to warm myself?" Clara felt a pang of sympathy mixed with unease. She could see the rain dripping off his clothes, and his eyes had a look of desperation. She nodded and stepped aside, allowing him into her small living room. He smiled gratefully and stepped in, his presence filling the room with an odd chill, despite the roaring fire in the hearth. "I'm Clara," she offered, hoping to make the situation less uncomfortable. "What were you doing out there so late?" "I'm a traveler," he replied, taking off his wet coat and hanging it near the fire. "I've been searching for someone." Clara felt a strange shiver run down her spine. "In the middle of the night, during a storm?" He smiled again, and this time there was something unsettling about it, something almost predatory. "When you've waited as long as I have, time becomes meaningless." The words sent a chill through her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something oddly familiar about him, something she couldn't quite place. His eyes, dark as the night outside, seemed to be studying her every move. She noticed that the flames in the fireplace seemed to dim slightly, the shadows growing longer, almost creeping toward him. She tried to keep calm. "Who are you looking for?" His gaze bore into hers. "A woman. Her name was Evelyn. She was taken from me, you see, long ago in a place like this. I've been searching for her ever since." Clara felt her throat tighten. "Evelyn?" "Yes." His smile faded, replaced by a look of sorrow so deep it seemed to radiate from his very soul. "She was the love of my life, but she was lost to me many years ago." Clara's heartbeat quickened. She felt an inexplicable pull, like his words were tugging at something deep within her. "What happened to her?" she managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. He took a step closer, his dark eyes softening. "She disappeared on a night just like this, after promising she would return, but she never did. I've been searching every night since, waiting for her to come back to me." Clara swallowed hard, a strange dizziness washing over her. For a moment, the room seemed to spin, and she saw a flash of another time, a different place, yet somehow she felt a sense of familiarity. The man's face seemed to blur, becoming both unknown and yet deeply intimate. Suddenly a gust of wind blew the door open, and the fire flickered violently, casting long dancing shadows across the walls. The man reached out and grabbed her hand. His touch was ice cold, sending a shock through her body. You're Evelyn, aren't you?" Clara felt an overwhelming wave of emotion, terror, confusion, and something else, a deep yearning she couldn't understand. She tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. "Come with me," he whispered, his voice now low and urgent. "Back to where we belong. We were torn apart, but now I've found you again. Don't you see?" She stared into his dark, haunting eyes, feeling a pull as if her very soul was being drawn toward him. Her mind screamed to resist, to run, but her heart felt a strange, inexplicable longing for him. "Please," he pleaded, "I've been waiting for you for so long." And in that moment, the world seemed to stand still. The room grew colder, the shadows deeper, and Clara felt herself being pulled toward him, toward a destiny she had long forgotten. The wind howled outside, and the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. The midnight visitor waited, his eyes locked on hers, and the haunting shadows whispered her forgotten name.